Assalamu alaikum. Suleiman Rahim here. Welcome. Messenger of the Covenant, breaker of the seven seals. Brothers and sisters and brothers. I'm going to take a small pause here. Then we'll begin this presentation about 2022. What to expect. 2022. That was the topic of the NOI on Sunday. So they talked for 2 hours. They never explained what it is, what's next. That was the topic. 2022, what's next? 2 hours. You haven't told us. So we will continue after a short break. Brothers and sisters, bear with me. About a minute. Thank you. That was their topic. That's their headline, banner page. 2022, what's next? A 2-hour program. This is the topic. 2022, what's next? The problem is, I waited for 2 hours. I never got what was next. Because they don't know. You have all these clowns always talking all this stuff. They don't know anything. I mean, here's a topic now. And Farrakhan, the master prophet, is supposed to know what's going on before it happens. I mean, didn't he know about COVID-19? Oh, excuse me, he didn't know about that one, did he? And that was the easy one. 1619 to 2019. 400 years, 2020 will be a plague that would kill the firstborn. That means the elderly. You didn't see it. That was easy to go. Then it took him 7 months to even speak on it. Then he walks up there. Well, he doesn't walk. He's carried up there by 2 people because he can't walk with a mask on. So he claims he's the anointed, and his plague comes from God. So why would God send a plague that would kill his anointed? That he would need a mask to protect him. That's a good question to ask. He didn't see that one coming. But he hasn't seen anything. You know what he sees coming? He sees it's going to be warm in spring. It's going to be hot in the summer. It's going to cool down in the fall. It's probably going to be cold in the winter. That's his prophecies. That's why if you took the time to watch that, if you have time to waste, I don't. 2022, what's next? Well, we're going to tell you what's next. But they don't know. It's sad, it's pathetic. But people keep following this demon, so let them follow him, because he's part of the process. You have to overcome all of these things to make it into the hereafter. It says, he who overcomes. Isn't that what it says in the angel Revelations? Chapter 2 and 3? He who overcomes, 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 he who overcomes. Overcomes what? This world. Every aspect of it. You got to let it all go. All of it. Because you can't, just any little bit that's an impurity, and we're only going to accept pure gold. And that's a hard message. That's a hard message. I don't particularly like the message myself, to tell you the truth. It's a hard message. I've been confronted with that message for 30 years. I had some idea about it 20 years before that. I've been on this case. I've been on my post for over 50 years. I came to Elijah Muhammad in 1970. I received my ex August 21st, 1970. And already I was in the process of breaking out of this world, because I gave up everything that I had built up that time. And I worked hard to start building my future. I had no idea that we had an alternative. I had no idea anything about the Abrahamic covenant. I thought this was it. I was going to make the best of it. I started making plans. I went to the military. Spent 4 years there. Got the rank of sergeant, right? A GI Bill. Going to go to college. They had a program where you could get a portion at a course rate, I guess. Right? You pay so much, take so much money out of your check every month. And once I was an avid Bible reader. Once I ran across Malachi, I said, this person has to be here now. This Elijah person? I had no idea. I knew nothing about the Nation of Islam. I had no idea what a Muslim was. Right? People say, how could you know? How could you not know? I didn't know anything about Ali. I didn't know anything about Malcolm X. Because I went in the military in March 1966. And they hurriedly shipped my behind over to Germany, a place called Wildflicken, or Wildflicken, a mountain on top of a mountain. It was isolated. I mean, when I say isolated, it was isolated. I didn't know anything about Martin Luther King. I didn't know anything about anything. All the so-called riots and stuff didn't even begin to that summer. And I was in Newark, New Jersey. I didn't know nothing about nothing. I sure didn't know there was a Vietnam War going on. Because doing back then, nobody stayed and watched on TV and paid attention to news and stuff like that. I had no idea. All I know is I was on my own. Right? Both parents was gone. I was on my own, and I had to figure out how to navigate through his life the best way I can. I knew staying on the streets in Newark was going to make it. And I knew New Jersey, because everybody was, I mean, it was like a big thing to go to Jamesburg. I mean, you know, you was a gangster. If you got locked up and went to Jamesburg, it was like boys, I don't know, what would you call it, detention center or something? Jamesburg. And if you made the cartwheel, boy, then you was an OG. And I said, man, that didn't make sense to me. Plus, I was an avid reader, right? I loved reading. I go to state. I lived at the library studying. Right? My father, he passed it when I was 14. Mother passed when I was 9. I was, I was studying. I should read the Bible. And I sure didn't think going to Jamesburg was cool. And definitely not Caldwell. That was the next step up. I forgot what was the next one after that one. Right? already, I'm trying to, figure out how to navigate through his life. So I went to the military, did all those things I mentioned earlier, right? And I'm moving, I'm moving right along, step by step, building my future. And then I run across Malachi and says, hey, maybe there's something else here. I dropped all of that. When I say I dropped instantly. I just walked away. When looking for this Elijah, he had no idea. I knew he had to be around somewhere. That's another story altogether. I began my process of not knowingly breaking the grip of this world. And then when I did find Elijah, a few months later, then I realized there was an option. And I'd already given up most of it already, this world, so I gave up the rest. 1970, August 21st, 1970, that's when I got my ex in Newark, Temple 25, under Minister James Shabazz. So that's going on 52 years. I'm still going, brothers and sisters. Fired up. Well, I didn't mention, I always look for something besides that because before I went to Vietnam, I started hearing about something was going on in the States. I'm getting hold of this, I heard this song, Say It Loud, Black and I'm Proud. And I've always been independent. I mean, I ain't never been scared of white folks. I got that song, I went and bought me a record player, because that's what they had back then, right? I was in Heidelberg at the time. I was in the big old barracks. And I think it might have been only one black person there. I don't remember seeing others, it might have been a couple. A lot of white folks though. Heidelberg's where they sent, rich folks sent their children, their boys, right? Keep them from going for Vietnam. That's a long story how I got there. I play it loud, get all the way through. I mean, it's a big old parrot. Say it loud, I'm black and say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud. But it was. I've never been afraid of being black. I didn't think it was any. I was never, I was never afflicted with that disease of fearing white folks. And in part, because my father, he didn't have the disease either. Now, that's another story about him, but he was on his own since 10 years old, me 14. Because he came out of Monroe, Louisiana. And something went down. He said something went down out there. They was out in the bayou. Something went down. And there's some rednecks chasing him. They said he caught his friend. He saw him hang his friend. He was only 10 years old, he said. And it scared him enough. And he went home long and stayed just long enough to tell his brother was named Money, his younger brother. They had those names back then, right? His name was Money, like, Money. So the same way, far as I know. So what happened? He left, never went back home, never saw his family, never met anybody ever again. He made contact about 6 months before he passed. But he never actually went physically. He made contact because somebody he met seemed to know them. So he was able to communicate, with letters and phone calls. And then, so he never he moved, when he left, he ran, went to Florida. He grew up pretty much in Florida. Then he moved up to New Jersey. And so he never really, he wasn't never was a master guy. He changed his name to something else. But the thing is, being ignorant back then, he knew that name he had wasn't no good. So he's trying to find the best name he could think of. And that shows how ignorant he was. That's why it says, I feel lost for lack of knowledge, because they try, just don't know, don't have the knowledge. So he named himself Robert Lee, because that was like the most beautiful, powerful name Black knew. And I'm pretty sure, I think it was a Confederate general. But that's where he got himself, because he didn't know anything about African names. Probably didn't know anything about Africa. That's the problem. But the point I'm trying to make here is that I was about 12, I guess, and we was down visiting relatives down in North Carolina, Roxborough, and all my cousins, they was like, whoa. You can't imagine. They ain't say mass of it. They came close to it. They say something very close to it. And they live across the street. If you call it living, or you have a nice community, all these nice, beautiful houses, land all around. And if any of you drove through like North Carolina or these country towns, sometimes you see like a little barn on the side, like a little log cabin. Well, you think it's like a barn or something like that here. No, that's what they was living in there. No running water. Had to go get to the well to get water. No flushing toilets. No toilets at all. None of that stuff. You had to have outhouse. And they were sharecroppers. That cross street that the master they was working for, I guess, I understood he was, he lived across the street, right? So like on the weekends, they had to go over there and ask him, hey, master, I forgot the word he used, something like master. Right? Can we get some stuff out of your garden? Because he had like a little garden back there with tomatoes and stuff. Hey, master, but you had to go around the back. You had to go around the back. And this was like, what? About 61, I guess. Because remember, when I was down there, still separate drinking, fountain, all that kind of stuff. And I didn't have a problem with that. I don't want to drink the same amount of fountain as them anyway. I was cool with that. A little segue here. They had a movie. They did love black and whites go to the same movie, but the blacks had to be upstairs. The whites was downstairs. That was the stupidest thing I could ever think of. Because white folks, they're crazy, they're backwards. Because they should have did it the other way around. Because at least the blacks had a little bit of sense. They would just spit down on them and drop stuff. Stuff like that. Anyway, so I go over one day with them. They go around and beg for tomatoes, whatever it's doing. They had to run, got it back. And on the way going back, back to the front, to get across the road, right? They call it the road. My father was standing right at the edge of the building. And he grabbed me and said, boy, whatever hear you talking like that, these white folks acting like that's scary, something to that effect. I'll kill you myself. That's what he told me. Yeah, I'm about 12 years old. He told me something like that. Not I was doing it, and I had no idea, no intention of doing anything like that, but that reinforced that. That showed what kind of man he was. So I never saw him kowtowing to white folks or anything like that. They threw him in prison. He would do a lot of stuff. I just want to point that out. Anyway, we're gonna go into this is their subject. 2022, what's next? If you want to look at it, go look at it. See if you can find what he says could be next. Other than there'll be more virus. I think they might say something like that. That's not it. So we're gonna go ahead and fill it in the blanks a lot. Because they're liars over there. They know nothing. They're blind. They know you blind too. If they're a blind person that knows everybody else is blind, they can pull off a great fraud. because they know you're blind, so they know that you don't know that they're blind. They can keep telling you that they see. How would you know? Unless you run into a wall or something. Even then, you still might say, oh, you might blame it on yourself because they ran this COVID. He's supposed to tell them about that. He didn't mention that was an easy call. But they should have heard the pounds came, but maybe got put some rubber in the tap so they can't hear it. But he's blind as they are. You don't know anything. But they make stuff like this here. 2022, what's next? Some people probably tune in, wait in vain. Okay, brothers, let's move on. Okay, brothers and sisters. 2022, guaranteed. More I'm out getting, if not sooner. And this year is over. He's quoting them, because January 1st is not the first of the year. That's that Roman calendar, so-called Gregorian calendar they made up. First of the year officially is 21st of March, first day of spring. That's one lie right there. Christmas Day as the birth of Christ. They have no idea what Christ they talk about. What they think is the Christ of 2,000 years ago. What we want to see now. We want to see now, of all the prophets and messengers, he came with more credentials than any other prophet and messenger before him. Elijah's greatest credential was just his name. He would be Elijah. See? Everything else you just had to accept. Accept that he met God. Accept, right? He's the one in Malachi. You accept. Because the only thing that credential he had, right, his name. Well, maybe you might throw in fact he wrote Levites, but then again, you have to know quite a few things to understand that one. And Prophet Muhammad. There's hardly anything, he didn't have any credentials at all. I know. Except predicting that Prophet Jesus told 2,000 years ago that the spirit of truth will come after him. Right? So some take that to mean Prophet Muhammad. And you take Moses, follow him. But Suleiman, he would come with a star would rise in the east that would herald his conception. Star Deva. 1948, a star rose in the east. That means he would be born in the west. That's a credential right there. That means his age would be the same age as false Israel. I mean, how are you going to fake that one? He'd be the one to break the 7 seals. How you want to fake that one? He would not come immediately after Elijah, but he would come, he'd be baptized by Elijah, but Elijah would come first, then Lion Aaron, and then Joshua would come after that. That's another credential. Messenger of the covenant. And there's many more. Undeniable that you can't fake. You know, people always saying, "Oh man, if I was when Jesus was around, I've been down with him. I was Moses, I've been down with him. If I've been around with problem, they're all liars. They wouldn't have been down with anything because all of them had made all kinds of resistance from saying people claim, "Oh, I would have been down with them had I been there." No, because the messenger of the covenant here with solid credentials, solid credentials, solid. Unmistakable, and you ain't down with him. He's able to walk alone. So, hold on a second. So let's talk about 2022. Armageddon, no doubt. No doubt in my mind about that one. Not sooner. War in the Middle East. Break out any day now. No doubt in my mind about that one. No one knows the date and time, but matched by Muhammad himself. Not even Suleiman the son, because he's David. And that's where Son of Man comes from. Suleiman, because they said Suleiman, Son of Man, they say his father is David. So his father is David, right? Then what was David's son's name? Solomon. That's Son of Man is the same thing. That's a simple one, but no one got it before. Take all these ideas. Farrakhan claim he's the Son of Man. He's got 2 feet in the grave. He's going to do all these miraculous things. Oh, he's going to do it from the will. He's going to communicate with that's Ishmael, right? I'm going to give him the 411. All the blood BS. So we know that the war is going to break out. They already tell you. I mean, they pretty much been told themselves the war is going to break out any day now. I mean, they already admit they're at war. I'm talking about, when it hits the boiling point or hell breaks loose. That's going to happen any day now. That will most definitely be a part of 2022. Most definitely. America's on the plague now. The first 9 plagues is right now the so-called COVID-19. The first of the plagues, 1619 to 2019, 40 years enslavement. 2020 be a plague that will kill the firstborn, which is the elderly. That's exactly what happened. In the past, or original people, that's what it's doing. Like Africa's been virtually unaffected by it. So it's here. So it's killing the demons. They look like us, walk like us. They ain't us. I mean, I've had it a couple of times myself. I'll be 73 in a minute. But the war will break out. Now, they anticipate, in fact, many people are looking for this war because they have an expectation. See, they're rejoicing. I'm glad this war is about to take place because from their point of view, that's what's going to take and cause Jesus to come back and kill the enemies and the rapture and take them to heaven and all this stuff. It ain't going to happen that way. But that's what they expect. Instead, Gog and Magog, as American Britain, that you didn't know who they were before. I told you. You know who the demons were. You didn't know who the angels were. You didn't know anything. Well, American Britain is about to be kicked out of the Middle East. Kicked out. They're about to get kicked out. Abandoning false Israel alone, abandoned, exposed, surrounded by all the enemies. At which point, from their point of view, that's good because it's when false Israel is on their knees and they finally call out to Jesus, according to them. That's when Jesus will come back. Man, it's going to be, from this miraculously coming, right? They can ignite the sky, kill all the Muslims, kill all the enemies and everything else, and protect false Israel, and right? Armageddon, when they get rapture and all this good stuff. But no, that's not what's going to happen. Because false Israel going to siege on them protected now. They don't have God to make God's protection anymore. They be taken down, which is not supposed to happen, which expose them as being a lie, false. That's what we're supposed to be in. But the counter of that is that if they're not, which is world has been supporting, right? Deceived by Gog and Magog and false Israel itself, because that's Satan, that's God's world. So everybody's been deceived to that lie, and vast amounts of money, vast amount of time and energy been invested in that lie. Maintain that lie. A big lie, because they've stolen our identity, and you got the whole world supporting that theft. The world invested in false Israel being false Israel, meaning they cannot be taken down. Because God will protect them forever, because that's what the covenant is about. Once they return, they will never be removed. But then they are removed. But it's impossible to happen. It does happen. And the only other competition for that covenant, for that contract, is us. And we have a legitimate claim, we have the evidence and everything. And if we are, it changed the whole dynamic. I mean, that instantly. Because their world comes crumbling down in an instant. When they take out false Israel, their whole reality collapses. Because this reality, since 1948, has been built on that lie. All of American international politics, especially in so-called Middle East, has been built on that lie. As soon as we rely on that lie, because that lie means that we're not a true seed of Abraham. See? So we don't have, so we don't have any legal claims on that land. America totally invests in that lie, because if we choose Abraham, then who are they? They've been oppressing us, and now they're under a plague. Because before that, they were saying we was Ham. The offspring of Shem, who was cursed to be, his offspring was cursed to be slaves eternally. Forever. And Ham was supposed to be Africans, black Africans. But yet still, that's what they say, right? From Noah. So what? 4,000 years passed since Noah, according to them, right? And they were enslaved. All of a sudden, now what's happening that curse come to pass? All this is just bullshit. But there's a hint of that in the Abrahamic covenant. Because in the Abrahamic covenant, Abraham is not called Abraham, he's called Abram. And later his name is changed for Abraham, because it's talking about we're being separated from him. Instead of being separated from him and taken to a foreign land and oppressed, afflicted for 40 years. But then be united, and then becomes Abraham. That's a little bit right there. Because they'd be saying we was Ham. They would justify it. But if we're not Ham and we're true to Abraham, then they've been oppressing us, because if we were cursed to be slaves, then they wouldn't do anything wrong by enslaving us. And they was claiming they was the spiritual Abraham, because they said the Jews had lost their rights. So that means genocide and all stuff they was doing. This probably the promised land. See, they was walking around with their heads up high, because they thought they was doing God's will. And then suddenly they find they're not. Their whole reality collapses in an instant, because they're sitting and waiting, they're holding their breath. And falls is under siege, they're holding their breath. You know, Jesus gonna be any second now. See? because they absolutely sure that he's going to save them, because that's what Scripture said. He's going to keep his word, right? And when that doesn't happen, brothers and sisters, it's an instant. They recalculate in an instant. Here you are, you too, Abraham, right? If you had done so, should be done to you. Now, revenge, it says vengeance will be upon. They said, at that time, unprecedented trouble, the time of abomination, desolation, that's where to take down the false Israel is. Right? It says, that time, vengeance of wrath upon these people, vengeance, days of vengeance. And here they got us in our grip, us in their grip. And they all know, they've been told, they're teaching all the church and everything else, that false is the true thing. And then suddenly they realize that's not, that you are. What you think they're going to do? So they're going to cut your throat. Your name, that's why I tell you have to flee. You have to flee instantly. Why do you have to flee like that? You can't hesitate. They said you cannot hesitate. Why could you not hesitate? You can hesitate. I mean, if was the police coming, you couldn't hesitate for a minute. If the army was coming, you couldn't hesitate for half an hour, 15 minutes, 5 minutes. No, because you have to. The reason why you can't hesitate, because your next door neighbor, the one you sleep in the bed with, they're gonna cut your throat. Because they realize all this trouble is coming on them because of what they're doing to you, and now they got you in their grip, and if they let you go, you're going to come back and do it to them what they're about to do to you. They ain't stupid as you are, as they have made us. So that's 2022. 2022, Farrakhan, that's you through. You will not make it past. I'm surprised you made it past this year. You definitely will not make it past 2022. You won't make it. None of your demons. See? But y'all warming up already. Y'all gonna be in war with Master pretty soon. Because Master's gonna attack you too. Because he ain't gonna distinguish between who's demon and who's not. Anything that's black, they gotta go. Anything on the chances. See? Because he don't want you, Master don't want you, we don't want you. So we're going to be at war with you first. He'll cast you out from amongst us. That said Mark, right? Legion. Now if you made to lead the country, but then he was cast out to his swine daddies, and they got to fight with each other and run off a cliff. That's the demon plague, 2022. I expect 2022 to start out with a bang. But it'll definitely be the year from hell. That's a few things. Plus all these plagues. That's something I'm going to take some time to define which one of those plagues are. Because you got 9 plagues. America's on the plagues now. 2020 started the plagues. The last plague is drive us out. When you drive somebody, it means, right? If you're driving someone out, that means that's the fear. You got the fear of death because you're driving them out. You ain't driving them out and say, would you please leave? You drive by the house, you're pushing them. They're under threat. They better get the hell out of here. Right? That's why I said to you, drive you out. They're going to drive you out, brothers and sisters. And only few you're going to escape. But you don't know about the abomination of desolation. You don't know about the Abrahamic covenant. You know, those, and you're not getting it from Farrakhan. To what you are getting from Farrakhan is a bunch of lies. He said, yeah, well, Abrahamic covenant, but then he don't tell the whole thing. He said, we're not going anywhere, which means then the Abrahamic covenant is invalid. It means nothing. Elijah Muhammad's whole mission was about nothing. Muhammad's whole mission was about nothing. If we're not going anywhere, because that's the whole purpose of Master Muhammad coming here. So 2022, that demon plague, that means these black folks are going to totally crazy. They're getting worse and worse every day. Talk about the crime wave and everything else, that's the demons. They're going to be a total war. Once abomination, desolation, they're going to be a total war with with their master. Demon and devil war. Go to war. So all black folks are coming together, 2022. Will be delivered. Elect. Tribulation, 2022. 2022 tribulation. No 7 years tribulation, that's BS. Some other crap they don't come with. Because see, they study the white folks eschatology, I guess you're right. And they come repeat that stuff. They don't know, white folks know what they're talking about, so they don't know what they're talking either. He ain't talking about what Elijah Muhammad talking about. They say, well, if a prophet come and tell you something, it don't come true. Well, Elijah Muhammad, follow that idea. Well, we shouldn't listen to Elijah Muhammad either. Because I know for a fact, right, that he used, in the 70s, he taught what Armageddon. In the 60s, he taught what Armageddon would take place in the 70s. How do I know that? I told you I didn't know anything about Islam. I didn't know about any of that. But we live right around, literally, right around the corner from Temple 25 in Newark. Literally, on Fairmont Avenue. I think it was 261 Fairmont Avenue, if I remember correctly. Still there. Temple's still there, too. They call it. I don't know what they call it now. And I didn't know what it was. I thought it was a church. I never went over there. Except this, when my father passed, he took me over there. So my understanding from my relative, he was processing. I don't know how far he got. Because he never told me what he was doing. Well, I know he took me in there. And I remember the brother that was in there, his brother, the big gap in his teeth. We were asking about, I don't know what his name was. He was some kind of, I don't know if he wasn't Mr. James Shabazz, so I don't know if he's probably been a minister or to the minister or what. But he was saying, Elijah Muhammad, I remember, I remember distinctly. War Armageddon would take place in the 70s. So this was like about 61, my father took me in there. I guess we should be listening to Elijah Muhammad either. So we're not going to pay attention to him. Ishmael and I mean, you want to pay attention if you want to. They have no credibility. There's nothing to support Farrakhan's claim he's all these things other than the fact he's Aaron, the iron deceiver. He was Elijah Muhammad's spokesman. Okay, bro, so I think we said there's a lot more going to take place. America's going to be in a battle for his life in a few days. When they kicked out of the Middle East, that's just the beginning of their trouble. But then they go immediately get the war with Russia and China and North Korea, even India. They think India's their friend. No, India's going to ally with China against them. And NATO, they're going to ally with Russia against them. America will not have any friends in their calamity. None. Not one. Plus, there'll be division inside. They're against each other. Slow within and slow without. Structure is the name of the game. That's 2022. And we're not going to hide this video like Farrakhan hide his own. It's archives. But I don't want you to know these all the BS you were saying before was all wrong. That's 2022, brothers and sisters. We're going to leave it there. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. Armageddon, 2022. Assalamu alaikum.